Few days ago, the authorities in Mali revealed that there was an attack launched in the capital city of Mali, Bamako. Video shortage revealed a plume of smoke rising in Bamako as shots and detonations were heard after gunmen attacked government troops in the Malian capital of Bamako. Now, on the same day the attack took place, JNIM, which is the major extremist group in the Sahel region, announced on their website, Azalak, that they were responsible for the attack. The question is, what does this group want? If you have been following the attacks in the Sahel region, you would have noticed the name JNIM has come up a couple of times. This group has grown from when they first started in 2011, taking advantage of the security crisis caused by the rebels in Mali and spread across the Sahel region, causing havoc and chaos. The recent attack in Mali, which occurred on September 17, 2024, is among a long line of attacks caused by this group. According to the reports, the JNIM fighters launched an attack in the capital city of Bamako, specifically targeting a military training camp and the airport in the capital city. Video footage posted on the JNIM website showed the fighters setting a plane on fire, and according to them, they were able to inflict major human and material losses. According to the Malian Army Chief of Staff Oumar Diarra, the fighters tried to infiltrate the Faladie military police school in Bamako. However, the government troops arrived and a gun battle occurred which led to the death of some soldiers. But the military was able to neutralize the attackers, and according to a security officer who was present at training camp, at least 15 suspects were arrested. In a statement read on national TV, the army stated that this cowardly and perfidious attack led to some losses of life on the army side, confirming that trainees at the military training camp were killed, but not saying how many. The statement from the Malian military also confirmed that the airport was attacked. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, an airport officer reported that the JNIM fighters succeeded in destroying 6 aircraft along with some drone launch pads. Immediately after the attack, the airport in the capital city was closed, with the spokesman for the transport ministry saying that flights were suspended because of the exchange of gunfire nearby. The interesting thing is that since the insurgents' attacks began, the capital city of Mali, Bamako, has rarely been attacked. So, for the JNIM fighters to successfully attack the capital city, it means the situation is getting even more serious. According to one analyst, Ulf Lacing, JNIM wanted to show they can also stage attacks in the south and in the capital, following the battle on the north near the Algeria border where Wagner suffered losses. It is scary to think that this extremist group has grown so strong to the extent that it can now attack the capital city, which was relatively safe. A deep analysis of the pattern of the attack reveals that JNIM now has the ability to stage a large-scale attack, and it also shows that they are concentrating on military targets rather than random attacks on civilians. This is actually scary because with this ability to attack on a large scale and targeting only the military, it's possible that JNIM might have the power to wipe out the Malian military. If that happens, this Islamic group would take over control of Mali, turning Mali into an Islamic state. If you think about it, you would know that it is the same thing that this same group is trying to do in Burkina Faso. The recent attacks in Burkina Faso launched by JNIM were all targeted at the military. To be honest, it seems as though the authorities in Mali are struggling to combat and eliminate these guys, even with the help of Russian Wagner fighters. If you recall, in July, the JNIM fighters ambushed a military convoy, eliminating about 50 Russian mercenaries. No doubt the military, with the help of Russian fighters, have won some battles, but the fact is that they are still struggling. And it makes sense, because Mali is not just fighting different Islamic groups like JNIM, it is also fighting other groups. You can imagine how stressed and stretched out the military is in Mali. The question is, who is helping them? Of course, the AES Confederation is working together to pool their resources to fight the insurgents. But let's not forget that Burkina Faso and Niger are also dealing with insecurity as well. Frankly speaking, the situation is dire. But how did it get to this point? JNIM, as we stated earlier, began in Mali, teaming up with the Tuareg to cause havoc in Mali. However, both groups separated after having conflicting interests, and from there, JNIM began to spread to Burkina Faso and parts of Niger. But aside from the Sahel region, the group has also launched several attacks in the northernmost regions of Ghana, Ivory Coast, Benin, and Togo. JNIM was formed officially in 2017 and comprises Ansar Dine, Al-Murabitun, the Makaina Liberation Front, and the Sahara Emirate subgroup in the lands of the Islamic Maghreb. Members of this deadly group come from the Sahel and Maghreb countries, such as Morocco. The leader of the group is Abu al-Fadl, a Malian fighter and the founder of Ansar Dine. He was a member of the separatist ranks of the Tuareg ethnic group in northern Mali's Kidal region. So how did JNIM manage to grow and continue to grow and spread across the region? Well, the group employs a strategy of exploiting local and social divisions in the territories it controls and appealing to groups that perceive themselves to be marginalized, such as the Tuareg and Fulani people. In other words, these guys go to local communities, which are oftentimes far from the influence of the government of the country, and who feel that they are left out from what's happening in the country. Once the JNIM members get to these communities, they instigate them to hate the government, promise to protect and provide for them, and give them arms to launch attacks against those that refuse to stand with them. Most of the times, the local population are forced to comply even against their wishes, because it might result in their death if they say no. So, these JNIM members become integrated into these communities, acting as leaders and even marrying into the community. This has been confirmed by several security analysts that have observed and analyzed their behaviors and tactics. According to these analysts, JNIM also targets government infrastructure like water storage and power plants, and then they act as a government in these areas, providing the locals with amenities, signing agreements with local leaders, and recruiting from those populations to boost its ranks. According to Ulf Lassing, head of the Sahel program at Germany's Konrad Adenauer Foundation, they are married into local populations, and it's hard for the military to find them because they blend in quite quickly. He further added that that's part of the frustration for the Burkina Faso army, that they can't fight them. JNIM has been responsible for several large-scale attacks across Burkina Faso and Mali, targeting not just local people, but also the military and those it considers sympathetic to the government of the country. This issue of insecurity in the Sahel is a serious one and should not be taken lightly, as it has turned the countries of the Sahel into a danger zone and unsafe for those living there. This is why anti-West sentiments have spread in the region, because when the problem first started in Mali, France and the international community were called to help. These guys came in with their military intelligence and sophisticated weaponry and set up camp in Mali. Despite these, nothing changed. Instead, the insecurity continued to worsen until they were told to leave. The African community is even worse. Since the insecurity started, the only thing they have done is to express sympathies whenever there is an attack. The African Union and the regional bloc, ECOWAS, has never thought of gathering resources together to help deal with the insecurity. At least we can understand why France and the West did nothing to help combat the insecurity, because they do not care about Africa. But what is the excuse of the African Union? Absolutely nothing. Where then is the so-called African unity? You see, this is the problem of Africa. The African Union preaches about African unity but does nothing to bring that unity into reality. Instead of every African country pooling their resources together and fixing the common problem prevalent in the countries, every country is just focused on itself, minding its business. But it ought not to be so. It seems the African Union is just a figurehead. The reason why the European continent is great is because the continent is united and they work together to achieve things. If there is one thing that Africa should learn from Europe, it is their unity. Right now, it is even more pertinent that every African country works together to solve the insecurity prevalent in some countries, because if nothing is done, this insecurity will spread until it's in every country. Remember, it started in Mali and now has spread across the Sahel region. If things continue as it is, It might spread across West Africa, and then to the south, and then east, and finally the north of Africa. Africa should wake up and deal with the insecurity now before it takes over, and every country in Africa is turned into an Islamic state. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.